Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer today. We are going to be looking at something incredibly special. It's this fascinating space where the hard, measurable rules of basic optics perfectly overlap with some of the most profound philosophical ideas we can even imagine. We're going to explore a really thought-provoking document that unpacks a brilliant analogy. It looks at how the simple act of light reflecting off water can actually help us wrap our minds around the concept of omnipresence. It's just a beautiful intersection of science and thought, and we're going to break the whole thing down step by step. So get ready, because I promise you'll be looking at the world just a little bit differently by the end of this.
Section 1, One Sun, Many Mirrors. Okay, let's dive into this. And before we get into the heavy physics or the deep philosophy, let's just ground ourselves in something very real.
I want you to picture a scene with me. Imagine you're standing right next to a large pool of water on a super bright, clear day. When you look up into the sky, there is, obviously, only one sun, just a single, solitary source of light hanging way up there in space. But when you cast your eyes downward and look at the surface of that pool, what do you actually see? The water is rippling, maybe just from a light breeze, and dancing across those ripples are hundreds, maybe even thousands, of tiny, distinct, shimmering suns. Every single little wave, every tiny movement of the water catches the light and creates its own perfect, brilliant miniature sun.
So, I gotta pose this fundamental question to you. How many suns do you see? It kind of sounds like a trick question, right? Because your brain knows for an absolute fact there is only one sun in our solar system, and yet your eyes are feeding you a completely different reality. Your sensory experience is literally telling you that the sun has somehow multiplied, fragmenting itself to exist in 100 different places on the surface of that water, all at the exact same time. It's this fundamental sensory puzzle, and honestly, it's the perfect jumping-off point for what we're exploring today.
Section 2, the Law of Reflection. Now, what's really interesting about this is how basic physics actually steps in to solve the puzzle.
The answer to our little mystery is the law of reflection. In optics, this strict rule tells us that when light hits a surface, that surface basically acts like a mirror. But here's the cool part. It doesn't just bounce light randomly. Every single surface, no matter how ridiculously small, reproduces a complete image of the light source, just at its own scale. So every tiny ripple in that pool of water acts as an independent mirror, dutifully capturing and reflecting a complete image of the massive sun in the sky, scaled down to fit the size of that specific ripple. It's an incredible optical rule. One single source of light can create countless, simultaneous images across multiple surfaces at the exact same time.
So if we compare our single source, the one physical sun in the sky, to the countless reflections on the water, there is a crucial takeaway. You really need to grasp this. The sun isn't being chopped up. It's not dividing its light so that, one ripple gets the top half of the sun and another gets the bottom half. Nope. Because of the law of reflection, every single individual droplet or wave on that water receives a full 100% complete share of the sun's image. The single source remains entirely intact and undivided, while simultaneously giving its whole self to millions of tiny reflections. Mind-blowing, right?
Section 3, a universal presence. Let's move on and see how this builds, taking us right from concrete physics into a really stunning metaphor.
Our source material brings up this absolutely brilliant insight from a great commentator. They point out that the physical sun is, at the end of the day, just a ball of gas. It's single, and it is strictly limited by its physical boundaries in space. Yet through this simple act of reflection, it takes on a universal role. It literally manages to be everywhere on that water at once. Then the commentator poses this amazing what-if scenario. What if the sun were actually aware? What if it had consciousness? If it did, through this physical law of reflection, it could effectively touch or interact with each of those millions of reflections completely separately and simultaneously.
And this brilliantly illustrates a Graham paradox, unmoving yet present everywhere. Think about the physical sun for a second. It's anchored in its position in the sky. It isn't zipping around from puddle to ocean to lake, frantically trying to make sure it reflects on the water. It stays perfectly still. And yet its presence, its light, its image, its warmth, spans across millions of tiny mirrors all over the Earth at the exact same moment. It is static, yet entirely universal. It's just a beautiful way to visualize how something can be localized in one sense, but universally present in another.
Section 4, everywhere at once. This is where we bring it all together for the grand synthesis. Okay, let's follow this logical bridge. We've got a physically limited entity, the sun,
By all definitions, it's bound by the laws of thermodynamics, gravity, physical space, the whole shebang. Yet, as we've clearly seen, even this limited physical object can achieve a form of universal presence through the law of reflection. It can be fully present in millions of places simultaneously without dividing itself one bit. Now, let's look at the other side of this. If a completely limited, unthinking physical object can pull off this incredible feat of simultaneous presence, the source argues that it makes perfect logical sense for a truly limitless power to have full, undivided presence everywhere at once.
Which brings us to a deeply provocative question from the text that I want to leave you with today. If one sun shines in millions of mirrors at once, why is it impossible for a single power to be everywhere at once? It is a really powerful thought, isn't it? By just looking at a puddle of water, by simply understanding a basic rule of optics, we're given a framework to comprehend the vast, seemingly impossible concept of omnipresence. It shows us that what might seem like a logical impossibility to our limited minds actually has a direct, visible precedent right in the natural world around us. I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity and given you a totally new lens through which to view both the simple physics of light and the grand mysteries of the universe. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this today, and hey, keep asking those big questions.